My name is Surbi Saraf, and I will show you how to deploy software using Desktop Central in various ways. But before we do that, let's take a quick look at what Desktop Central is. Desktop Central is a unified endpoint management solution that helps in managing servers, laptops, desktops, and smartphones, all from a single console. You can use Desktop Central to automate regular desktop management routines from a central location. To know more about Desktop Central, you can visit the link mentioned at the bottom of the screen. Let's take a quick look at the training schedule. We have a 5-week-long training session planned, and we're on the second week right now. We covered patch management last week, and we're about to discuss software deployment. If you happen to have missed last week's training session, you can watch the video on the link displayed at the bottom of the screen. We encourage you to attend all the training sessions to get the most out of this. I also want to mention that if at any point during this session you have a query, you can comment in chat. We have an expert panel on board, and they will answer your queries in real time. Yeah, so coming to the agenda, let's discuss the things we're going to focus on in the training session. First, I'll walk you through the basics of Desktop Central, the architecture, how it works, and after we're done with that, we'll get into software deployment, where I'll show you how to deploy a freeware application using Desktop Central to all the computers in a network, and how to deploy a commercial application to a specific department in your network. We'll also see how to set things up such that the users can install applications on their own without administrator intervention. And then we'll discuss some commonly encountered scenarios and the solutions. And we'll wrap it up with frequently asked questions. Desktop Central supports all 3 flavors of operating systems for software deployment: Windows, Mac, and Linux. We have over 4,500 predefined application templates across all 3 platforms. Coming to Desktop Central architecture, Desktop Central is an on-premise solution. It follows the client-server architecture, which means that the agent has to be installed on all the machines you wish to manage. You can install the server on any one of the supported operating systems, and you will be able to push out the agents to all the computers in your network. Using Desktop Central, you will be able to both manage local area network and wide area network agents. For managing wide area network clients, you can create different branch offices for different locations, and you can manage them efficiently using a distribution server. Now, what is a distribution server? A distribution server is a component which is installed in one of the computers in the branch office. Now, how does it help in managing branch offices efficiently? Let's take an example. Imagine you're managing over 100 computers in one of your branch offices, and you install a distribution server in one of them. Now, whenever you deploy a patch or a software from your main server, the distribution server downloads all the patch or the software binaries from the Desktop Central server, and then distributes it to the client in the network. Now, if you don't have a distribution server in the same case, what would happen is that the clients would individually contact Desktop Central server and download the binaries individually, and then proceed with the installation, which might choke your bandwidth and which is very inefficient. This is why we use distribution servers to help manage the bandwidth efficiently. Now, we have another component in the architecture called the secure gateway. It is called a forwarding server. A forwarding server is a secure gateway server which is placed in between your roaming users or all users and the central server. Any communication between the users and the Desktop Central server will be routed through the forwarding server. Now, in case all your clients are roaming, you can host the Desktop Central server on Azure. We have that option as well. Since Desktop Central needs to be installed on all the devices that you wish to manage, let's see what options we have for doing that. We have 3 specific ways of installing the agent. First one is where if you have a domain set up, you can create a group policy and then push out the agent packages to all the machines. And the second one which is the easiest way. What you can do is that you can use the Desktop Central web console to push out the agents. Here, the MSI files are copied to this computer, and the installation is initiated by the Desktop Central server. In the third option, you can either use scripts to deploy the agent, or you can download the application and install it manually on the endpoint. Once the agents are installed on all your client machines, they will automatically report back to the Desktop Central server, and it will be reflected on the web console, where you will start managing them right away. You can manage laptops, desktops, and servers and POS devices with operating systems using Desktop Central server. Here are the list of components that are required or optional for managing Desktop Central. Server, agent, and notification server are all essential. The notification server, we'll discuss about this more in the coming scenario. The components that are optional are distribution server, forwarding server, failover server, and language pack. Now, you might wonder what a failover server is. It is nothing but a backup server which takes over in case anything happens to your Desktop Central server. You can set up a failover server if you think you need one. It is entirely optional. Let's take a look at the ports that are used by Desktop Central. For inbound communication, Desktop Central uses port number 8020, which is an HTTP port, and port number 8383, which is an HTTPS port. The notification server and voice and video chat, for these we use the port numbers 8027 and 8443. For remote control, file transfer, and distribution server, we have displayed these port numbers, and these are used for HTTP and HTTPS respectively. You need to make sure that the ports are properly configured for the Desktop Central to work properly. If you want a more detailed view on the ports that are used by Desktop Central, you can go visit the link provided at the bottom of the screen, and you will be able to see all the technical details. Now, we have a 90-minute refresh policy in Desktop Central. What is the 90-minute refresh policy? In the agent server model used by Desktop Central, the agent contacts the server once in 90 minutes. This ensures that all the computers in the network contact the server periodically. Two factors are ensured. Bandwidth is not disturbed due to agent-server communication, and the second is that the performance of the server is not affected at any time. The server manages all this efficiently to make sure that all the agents contacted periodically. For example, in a network of 90 computers, one computer will reach out to the Desktop Central server in a minute. For 900 computers, 10 computers will reach out to the Desktop Central server in a minute. And similarly, you can calculate it for any number of computers. As I said, we are available on Azure and AWS Marketplace, and you can use this if you have too many roaming users. Now, why do enterprises require software deployment? When you have a big network, you cannot handle the installation and uninstallation of software applications on all the computers manually. You need a centralized and automated solution where you will be able to deploy software applications from one server to all the client machines. You also need it to effectively reduce software deployment-related help desk requests. You can do that by enabling the users to be able to install applications on their own from a portal called the self-service portal. We'll discuss more about this in the upcoming slides. Now let's take a look at how software deployment works. As discussed before, we have over 4,500 predefined application templates. You can choose any software from these templates to create a package. When you create a package, the software binaries get downloaded and are stored in the software repository. We have two kinds of repository. One is the network share, and the other is HTTP kind of repository. So the network share repository can be used for LAN, for distributing binaries, patch of software binaries to LAN agents, and HTTP is recommended when you're distributing software binaries to one agent.
let's discuss how these two repositories are different. In network share repository, the software package that you want to deploy will be stored in a network share that is accessible from all the computers in the network. In HTTP repository, an HTTP path is set up to the place where the package is stored, and using this path, wide area network agents as well as local area network agents will be able to access the packages stored in the software repository. Only LAN agents can access the network share, whereas both LAN and WAN agents can access HTTP share. There are no limits in file sizes for network share, whereas for HTTP repository, the limit is up to 7 GB. Also, since network shares are very vulnerable to attacks, you need to set them up with proper credentials for access, and you need to maintain them continuously. No such things are required in an HTTP repository. Another thing I want to mention is that we support DFS shares as well. In case you have a DFS share, you can map it to Desktop Central and you will be able to use it. To understand how software deployment works in networks, let's consider a scenario as shown. Peter is the IT manager, and John and team work for Peter. So Peter gives them tasks, and we'll see how they're able to complete these tasks. The first task is to deploy Java 8 to all network computers. Let's go to a product to understand how you can achieve this using Desktop Central. So this is the Desktop Central console, and since we're talking about software deployment, the first thing you have to do is go to software deployment, then click on templates. As discussed, mentioned already, we have many templates, and you can search. Since John has to deploy Java 8 to all the computers, we'll go ahead and search for Java 8. As you can see, we have multiple packages. We'll click on one and then create the package. So this pop-up shows, and this will let you know the package creation status. You can hide it until it gets created. Another thing, you can view the details of the package by clicking on that particular package like this. So you can see it will show you the application name, the version, the type of the application, the platform, and here it will mention the location from where the binaries will be downloaded. This is the vendor, from the vendor site. We also have install switches configured already, and if you're installing any application using Desktop Central, you don't need to worry about giving install switches. So we've already clicked on create package. We don't need to do that again. So once the package is created, you will get this message saying package has been created successfully, and you can view it under packages tab. It has been created, and we'll go ahead and search for Java 8. Here you can see. Now, after the package is created, all you have to do is select the package, click on install or uninstall software, and then click on computer configuration. You can go for both. You can either go for user or computer configuration, but since John has to deploy the application to all the computers, we're going to go with computer configuration. So here you can name the configuration something suitable. Let's name it Java 8, and you can add a description for your reference. Coming down, we have install and uninstall Windows software. So since we selected the package already, the package name will be pre-filled, or we can use this to install any other application, but all you have to do is select the package. Next, we have to configure the type of operation that you want to perform using this package. You can both install or uninstall the software using this package. Since here we're going to install the software, we're obviously going to go with the first option. You can also configure advanced settings, and by default, Desktop Central installs all the application as a system user. If you want to install the application as some other user, you can select this option, and you can provide the specific domain credential, and it will install as that particular admin or whatever user that you wanted to install as. So you can also add credentials by clicking on Manage Credentials and then saving new credentials, and you can use those credentials as well. So we're going to go with System User. Coming down, we have Add More Packages. This can be used to add more packages to, you can, so using this configuration, you can not only install one software, you can also install any number of softwares that you want. All you have to do is click on Add More Package, as I did, and then select the software name. For example, if I want to select .NET Framework, I can do that as well. But since we're not going to, we will just not go with this option. Coming down, we have the scheduler settings, where you will be able to specify the configuration lifecycle. By lifecycle, I mean you can specify after what date and time and up to what date and time the configuration will be active. For example, I can select it to apply the configuration only after 17th February. And I can specify the time as I require. And I can set the expiry date as from 17th to say 22nd. So any computers that are added to the target after 22nd will not get this installation. You can change the settings, and we'll see how you can change that later. Coming down to the deployment settings. Here you can select the deployment policy that will be used to deploy the package. We already have multiple policies created. Let's go ahead and see how you can create a policy. All you have to do is select Create or Modify Policy, and then click on Create Policy. You can name the policy something suitable, save, and then here you will be able to select which week of the month and which day of the week you want the application to be installed. Yeah. And you can also select the week split based on past Tuesday or regular split. So if you base it on past Tuesday, what will happen is you'll get options saying past Tuesday week, first week after past Tuesday, and second. You can select this according to your requirement. We'll just go with the regular split and select the first week, and then select all days. Here, coming down, you can specify the deployment window within which the installation will take place. So, for example, if I only want the installation to happen after 11 in the morning till, say, 11 at night, I can specify that, and the installation will happen only within this interval. Now you can initiate the deployment at either the system startup or the refresh cycle, or you can choose to initiate the deployment on either of these, whichever happens earlier. Coming to the next option, we have the pre-deployment settings. Now here you can choose to wake the computers on LAN. We have the wake on LAN features for a Windows setup, in which if, for example, you choose a deployment window to be at night, when no one is working, and what if the computers are shut down? What do you do then? You can use this option, and what will happen is that a magic packet will be sent to that particular computer, and it will be woken up on LAN. The system will start, and the installation will take place. And after the installation is completed, the system will shut down automatically. The second option is you can download the patches of software during subsequent refresh cycle. What does this mean? So let's say you have an immediate requirement. Let's say you want a software to be installed before the end of the day, and you've set the deployment window from 5 p.m. to 12 p.m. So if you select this option, what happens is that once you apply the configuration, the patch binaries will be downloaded on the target computers during the subsequent refresh cycle. And if you don't enable this option, what will happen is that the patch or software binaries will be downloaded only within the deployment window. So if you have a stringent time frame, what you can do is select this option. So at 5 p.m. instead of the download of the binaries, what will happen is that we'll already have the binaries and the installation will begin. Coming down to user notification, you can choose to notify the users about the deployment. You can configure the message title and what the message you want to display. You can also configure a timeout after which the deployment will be started. You also have the option to allow users to skip deployment. Now, what happens if the users keep skipping deployment for n number of days? We have a solution for that as well. You can force the deployment after, say, 5 days or 3 days, or go with 5. So what will happen is that the user will only be allowed to skip the deployment for 5 days. After that, we won't ask the user and they will force the deployment. You also have another option saying initiate deployment without user notification if the system remains idle for 30 minutes before deployment. So if you enable this, what will happen is that the deployment will be initiated without notifying the user if we notice that the system has been idle for 30 minutes. We can configure the number of minutes, like how much time you want to observe, and then accordingly, the system will get the installation. You can also choose to let the users see the deployment progress on the client computer. Coming up next, we have the reboot policy. So some software applications after installation, they require a reboot and some don't. You can configure what happens after the installation over here. You can either choose to go with do not reboot or shut down, or you can force the reboot and you can force the shutdown as well. Here again, we have the same options. We can allow the user to postpone the reboot for a certain number of days, which we can configure over here. And after these number of days, it will be forced. Same goes for shutdown as well. You can force the shutdown or you can allow the user to postpone it. You can configure the display message as required, and then the installation will happen as decided. So we'll go with do not reboot or shutdown, and we can save. So once you've created the policy, deployment policy, it will be available over here. And please note that the deployment policy is common for both patch and software. Any deployment policy that I create over here can be used for both software deployment and for patch deployment as well. Coming back, let's select, we already have created many policies. Let's select test John policy. So after that is done, we'll come down and we have to define the target. Now here you select which computers get the install. We have multiple options. You can select a particular remote office and you can then filter based on your requirements. For example, here where we need the installation to happen on all computers, so we're going to go with the whole network. You can select the whole domain. So we're getting an error message which says you have selected the domain as a target, which involves replication of data in all distribution server. If this configuration is not intended to be replicated to remote offices, it is recommended to specify the target remote office. So here we intended to replicate to all the remote office, so this is fine. We're going to go with Zoho Corp so that it will get installed on all the computers in this particular network. Now coming down, we have additional settings. You can choose to retry the configuration of failed targets for any number of times. So this is in case the installation fails for the first time due to errors such as network timeout and all, which are very random. And you can choose to install. You can choose to install. You can choose to retry the configuration after a certain number of for a certain number of times. For example, if you choose to retry it for 2 times, out of these 2 times, you can choose, if you choose to retry it for 2 times, out of these 2 times, you can configure how many times will be during startup and how many times will be during refresh. For example, if I can choose to retry it for 5 times, out of these 5 times, I want 3 times to be retried during startup, and I can configure 2 times during refresh. You can also enable notification in case there are any issues with the installation. You will be notified via email. You can configure how many emails you want, the frequency of the email. For example, if you want to get only 1 email in every 24 hours, for 3 days, you can do that. And then all you have to do is specify your email address, and you will keep getting updates on the configuration. After you're done with all these settings, all you have to do is deploy. Now, as you can see, we have another option called deploy immediately. This is where the notification server comes into play. So what happens is that notification server maintains a constant link between the main server and the agent. And once we click on deploy immediately, the notification server sends out a notification to the agent saying, hey, you need to get these configurations, get these packages right now. And the agent will come back and download the binaries right away, and then the installation will begin. So otherwise, if you choose to go with deploy, the installation will happen according to the deployment policy that you have set over here. Yes. So this is how you can deploy a configuration to all the computers in your network. And once you're done with that, you'll get a message, as you just saw, saying it has been deployed successfully. Now coming to the next scenario. So the second task that John gets is to deploy MS Office 2019 to the sales department, which is a commercial application. Let's see how he can do that using Desktop Central. We'll go to software deployment, click on templates, as we did. Let's search for Office 2019. Over here, you can see we have a template. Let's click on the template, and we can see the software application name, version, and all that. But in place of location, it shows you how to dock. So what we can do is we'll click on the how to dock and see. So you are redirected to the how to document, which tells you how to deploy Microsoft Office 2019. So it has all the detailed steps you have to follow in order to deploy it. Since it is a commercial application, you just have to follow these steps, and you can create a package using these steps. We'll follow these steps one by one, and we'll see how we can deploy a commercial application. So what you have to do is go to packages, click on add package. We'll go for Windows, and then you can select the package name. In this case, it is Office 2019. So the package type is you can either choose MSI or other packages. Here, since it's an exe, we'll go with this option. Here, coming down, you have to select the license type as either commercial or non-commercial. Since Office 2019 is a commercial application, we'll select commercial. Now, you can choose to install the software using either the network share or the software or HTTP share, which means that you can update it, upload the binaries on a particular computer, and all other computers will come to it to download the binaries individually. And from shared folder, you can just set up a network share, and you have to make sure that it is accessible to all the computers in the network, and all the computers will contact that particular computer and download the binaries. So we'll see how to install the application using both. First, we'll go with network share. So if you select a network share, you have to provide installation commands with all the switches and arguments. So we'll go, click on browse. And if you set up your software repository properly, this is the view you should get. And you can see we have MS Office 2019, which I have downloaded and kept there already. All you have to do is select the setup.exe. And this is it. Next, we have to give the configuration command, config / and then you have to specify the XML file that is required for the installation. So another thing I want to mention is that once you go through this document, you will see that it asks you to download the packages from the website, vendor website. So there are two ways in which you can have the package. Over here, you can have the package in either this format, which means if you download it from the vendor's website, you'll have a setup.exe and config.xml. And all the other required files will be downloaded online. And the second setup is where if you have an installation CD, you'll have all the installables on the DVD, and you would not need to, the computer would not need to go and download all these installables online. So we're going to go with this setup, downloading it from the website. So for the configuration file, you have to give the commands like this, and then again go to the browse and paste it, and then select on, and then type in the name of the configuration file, which is config.xml. See over here, it is config.xml. So we have to select this and we have to type the name exactly so that there are no errors. So it is a capital C .xml, config1.xml. So yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, config1.xml. And after you're done with this, you can just, we have other options as well, uninstallation and advanced settings. So uninstallation, you can use the same package to uninstall the software. So if you want to uninstall the software using the same package, you will have to provide the uninstallation command, which switches an argument like we did for installation. And coming to advanced settings, you have, first up, you have the exe root path, which will be auto-filled since I provided the path over here. But just in case, you can cross-check it, make sure it is the correct one. Coming down, we have the exit code. You can specify the exit code 0, since it is 0 in 90% of the cases. But what happens is sometimes the software will be installed on the computer successfully, but on your console, it will show that it has not been there, that the installation has failed. That happens sometimes only because the exit code is not 0, it is something other than 0, and you've given a wrong exit code. So just to make sure that that doesn't happen, you can go to the particular vendor's website and make sure that the exit code that's present here is the correct one. Now coming down, you can select the architecture as either 32-bit or 64-bit. Now you can also set the maximum time limit for installation as any options, any of these options, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 hours. By default, it will be 2 hours. And if you think for some installations that download binaries, that have to download a package after the installation completes, so for example, AutoCAD and all, that installations for software like AutoCAD, some applications take a lot of time. And if you think your application is one such application that will take a lot of time in the installation, you can configure the time limit as 6 hours or anything that you think should be enough. Coming down to the package properties, this is entirely for your reference and it is optional. You can put in the vendor name, version, language, and package description just for your reference, and it is not mandated. Coming back to the installation, as we can see, we have pre and post deployment activities. What are these? So in the pre-deployment activities, you have two things that you can configure. You can either check a condition or you can go for applying a particular configuration, or you can do both. For example, if you're installing any software and it requires some other software to be present for it to run correctly, what you can do is select check software and provide the software name and configure the values properly. And then you can define the action so that if the software is present, what should happen? Should the configuration proceed or should we skip the installation? This is one example, and you can also check free disk space. All you have to do is drag and drop and then click on that particular configuration and provide the particular value. For example, if you want to see how much space C drive has, if it has enough space, you can configure that and provide the minimum amount of space that should be there for the installation to proceed. Coming down, we have the post-deployment activities, which is, again, we don't have any conditions here. You can only configure these particular activities. For example, if you want to run a script after the deployment has finished, you can do that. All you have to do is drag and drop. Again, drag and drop, click on the configuration and configure it. So this is how you can deploy certain activities before and after installation to ensure that the installation is smooth. This is how you can make sure that the installation happens using the network share. Coming to the local computer, HTTP repository, if you want to use the HTTP repository, what you have to do is upload a file. So as we discussed, we have the files available in two formats. It will be either these two, or it will be the CD. The whole installables will be on a particular CD. So to upload it over here, to upload it over here, what you have to do is select the file, choose the file, and you have to make sure that you zip these files and then upload the zip version. I've already created a zipped file. All I'm going to do is select it and click on open, and it will get uploaded automatically. So another thing I want you to make sure is that you have to select these files and then zip them directly. Don't put these, and even coming to the CD version, what you have to do is select all these files and then you have to zip them. Please don't put them in a folder like this and then zip this folder. It will not run correctly. So make sure that you directly zip all these files for the installation to be smooth. After you've uploaded the zip file, all you have to do is configure the installation details, which is much simpler than that of the network share. All you have to do here is put in the command as setup.exe, and then again /config space config.xml. Now, coming to this particular option, we have two commands that can be used. We can either use config or we can use configure. And you can find out which one it is by going to command, and you can navigate to the folder where the setup.exe is located and then give in this command. After you do that, you will see these details, and over here you can find whether it is configure or config that you have to use. Since this is for the version that we're using, here we have to use the configure. And if you have this particular setup wherein you have a CD and all the installables are on the CD, all you have to do is navigate to that particular folder and again run this command. And you will be able to see a pop-up. And on the pop-up, you can see that we have to use config for this particular setup. So this is how you can determine which command you have to use. Make sure that you cross-check and use the correct one. So uninstallation, advanced settings, and pre and post deployment activities are the same, even if you choose to go with installation from a local computer. After you're done with doing all this, with configuring all these commands, all you have to do is add package, click on add package, and it will show you a successful message saying package has been created successfully. And you will be able to see the package over here, Office 2019, as we just saw. So once the package is created, all you have to do is click on it, select the package, and then again, go on install software. User, now again, you have two configurations, user or computers. We'll go with computers. I'm sorry, but here we had to deploy the package to a specific department in the network. So we can choose the computers. We can choose a computer configuration. So you can specify the name, and then you can specify the package settings. So as we see that the package name has been pre-filled by default because we selected the package. All these details will be the same as the previous case we saw. The only thing that's different is the target. So over here, we have to deploy the application to a particular group of computers. So once we select the domain, all you have to do is click on this filter option. And then you can filter computers based on site, OUs, group, or custom group. So we'll go with custom group. And before we select the particular custom group, I'll show you how to create custom groups using Desktop Central. All you have to do is go to admin, go to custom groups, and then click on create new group. Here you can specify the group name, say sales team or whatever, finance team, whichever it is that you require. And then you can select the category. We have three categories: static, static unique, and dynamic. How are these three different? So for static category, what happens is any computers that are part of this group can be a part of any other group. In static unique, any computer that is a part of a static unique group cannot be a part of any other group. So these computers will be uniquely in just one group. In a dynamic group, what happens is that you can set up filters, as you can see, and you can filter computers based on operating system, service packs, OS versions, or system types, computer types. So we'll go with computer. We can select a dynamic thing when we're, for example, if you have a finance department, what you can do is select filters based on a particular OU, and you've set up a domain for the finance department. All you have to do is provide credentials, and all the new computers that are added to the domain will automatically be added to the dynamic group. Here we can go with the static group as well. All we have to do is select these computers and then click on transport. These computers will be added to this particular sales team. The domain, you can select any domain that you require. And once you've selected these computers, all you have to do is click on create group. After you're done creating the group, you will see that the target, you will be able to filter the target over here, custom group, and you will be able to select which particular team it is that you want. We'll go with marketing team. Now, you can also exclude target. For example, if you want all the computers in marketing team to get the install, except for one or two computers, what you can do is select computers by computer name or IP address, and then provide these details, and all computers in that particular group, except for the computers that you specify over here, will get the install. So these options, again, remain the same. All you have to do is select the target and click on deploy or deploy immediately according to your needs. So this is how you can deploy configuration. This is how John can deploy MS Office to a particular department in his network. Now, John is receiving a lot of help desk requests to install various business software applications. Is there something you can do to reduce the number of help desk requests raised and to tackle this issue efficiently? For this, we have an option called Self-Service Portal. in which the end users will have a portal where there will be a list of applications available to them. They can choose and install the desired application without any administrative privileges. They won't be needing any admin privileges because Desktop Central Agent is already installed on the computer and it has access to system users via which these applications will be installed. Now, how does the user get this particular view? Let's go to the console and see how you can set this up. So all you have to do is go to software deployment and then click on self-service portal. Over here, you can publish software packages based on computer configuration, or you can publish these software packages to particular users. So once you select which configuration you want, you can select these particular patches. All you have to do is drag and drop the applications that you want the user to be able to install on their own. And then you can specify the group, say finance team. So all the members of this particular group will have all these applications available to them. Now we have two options over here. One is install without approval, and another is requires approval prior to installation. So if you select applications and place them under this option, what will happen is that the user will be able to install them without any approval required. And coming to the second option, this will be applicable only if you have Service Desk Plus configured with Desktop Central. So over here, what will happen is that, for example, you select Evernote. And so what will happen is that the users will not be able to install this application directly. They will have to request for it. They will only have the option to request. And this request will go to Service Desk Plus technician, from over where the technician can either choose to approve or reject the request. Once the request is approved, the software will automatically be installed. Or if the request is rejected, the software will not be installed and the user will be notified saying that your request has been rejected. Let's go back and see here. So over here, this is how, as you can see, last three options. This is how the user will get the request view. Once you request, there will be a configuration message configure, and you can send the request to the technician, from which can either approve or deny your request. So if you have SDP configured, this is the approval workflow. So what will happen is that the client computers, users can send installation requests, which will be forwarded to Desktop Central, which will again be forwarded to Service Desk Plus server, from where the technician can either choose to approve or deny or reject the request. Once it is approved, it will go to DC server and then to client computers where the application will be installed. Now, let's take a look at some common error messages you get while installing software. So the first one is the system cannot find the path specified or the access is denied. So this happens because of network share not being configured properly. Let's see how you can check whether you have configured your network share properly. All you have to do is go to the product, click on software deployment and go to packages. Select a particular package. In this case, it was we created an Office 2019 package. Okay, the name may be different. So you can select any package and click on the package. And then all you have to do is, once you click on the package, you will get this view. And it will show you the properties with installation switches and uninstallation switches. So if you want to check that your repository has been configured successfully, all you have to do is copy this particular command and go to command prompt and run this particular switch, this particular installation command on the end user. So all you have to do is go to the end user's computer, open command prompt, and run this particular command on the prompt. If it runs successfully, the network share has been configured properly. And if it doesn't, then there are some issues with the network share. you just make sure that the network share is configured properly and is accessible to all the computers in the network, and that you have specified the proper credentials. Coming back to the errors, the second error message we get is messages related to no silent switch or invalid silent switches. So here, each application will have its own silent switches, and you have to make sure that you get the correct one from the vendor's website. So if you're getting any error messages regarding this, just go to the vendor's website and cross-check for the silent switches whether or not they're correct. This is again not dependent on Desktop Central because different applications, as I mentioned, have different switches. So just configure and make sure that it is the correct installation switches that you're given. Now let's discuss some commonly encountered scenarios or solutions. Scenario 1, I want to install Autodesk design software on a few computers and it requires a .NET framework. How can I achieve this? All you have to do is go to software deployment, go to install or uninstall software, select a computer configuration. And when you go to add package, all you have to do is, as I showed, you just have to add more packages. For example, if you want the first package to be installed should be .NET framework, and then you can add the second package to be installed according to your need. So you can just, all you have to do is click on add more package and provide a particular details. So the software will be installed in this particular order. And this is how you can make sure that .NET framework is installed prior to installing Autodesk design software. Scenario 2, can I install software user level such as Dropbox and Skype? So some applications need a user profile to be installed rather than a computer profile. If you try to install it as a computer configuration, the installation will fail, and Skype and Dropbox are some such examples. Yes, you can totally install a software using user configuration, as we saw. All you have to do is go to software deployment, click on install or uninstall software, and just click on user configuration. And this is how you will be able to achieve this. Coming to the next scenario, I have a third-party application that does not support silent installation. How can I install it? For such applications, we have a special option that you can enable while you're creating your configuration. Let's go to the product. So, all you have to do is go to software deployment, install, uninstall software, and under package settings, select a particular package. And under package settings, you can allow the users to interact with installation or uninstallation window. So it will start the usual installation wizard, and the users can click next, and complete the installation as usual. So if there's an application that does not allow silent installation, all you have to do is configure this option, and you will be able to install it seamlessly. Coming to the next scenario, I have a set of applications including MS Office and CRM deployed for my sales team. I want all new salespeople to have these applications installed on the computer automatically. How can I do this? We can do this using Desktop Central by going to, all you have to do is you can deploying application to custom groups, and when new machines are added to the group, they will automatically get the application. You can configure these settings by going to configuration and configuration settings. And you can select whether or not, if a computer is added to your group, the configuration should be applied or not. You can also select when the configuration should be applied. If you want the configuration to be applied at the system startup, you can check this option. Or if you want the configuration to be applied during refresh cycle, you can select this option. Just configure these changes, and all the new users or computers that are added to a particular group will automatically get the install. I tried to deploy a business app to a computer, but it failed. Is there a way to troubleshoot it myself? Yes, you can do this for MSIS applications. You have an option to create a log file, and you can configure this while creating packages. Software, you have to go to software deployment, packages, and add package. So while you're creating a package, go to the advanced settings and then check this option which says enable logging for troubleshooting. So what will happen is that the log file will be created if the configuration fails. You can see the log file in the Desktop Central Agent folder, and the name of the log file will be exactly the same as the name of the configuration. And this is a log file that you're supposed to upload if you are having any issues and the support team asks you for a log file. So you can troubleshoot it yourself by enabling logging, and you can go and access the log file and figure out what issues you're having. Coming to frequently asked questions, how can I install applications for Mac which are not listed on the template? We have an option to create a package, to create packages for Mac. So if we have many templates, and if you want to install an application for which there is no template, all you have to do is go to packages, add package, and then you can select Mac. You can provide the details as required and you can provide the files and installation commands and uninstallation commands, and you can add the package and deploy it as discussed. Now, self-service portal is not enabled. Do I need an enterprise edition to use self-service portal? How do I know which edition do I use? You can see this by going to the product, and on the top left, you will see license and build version. So all you have to do is click on license, and you can find out which particular version it is that you're using right now. So self-service portal is only available for enterprise and UAM edition. So make sure you have the correct version, and if you have the correct version, you will be definitely able to use the self-service portal. Where can I view the software deployment tasks? To view the software deployment tasks, all you have to do is go to configuration, and over here you will be able to see all the packages that you have created. And all you have to do is click on a particular configuration, and you will be able to see configuration details and execution status and all the summary. Coming to next question, where on the user's PC does it copy the software installable? Does it erase it afterwards? So on the user's PC, the software installable is copied on the DC agent folder, within the DC agent folder. So after the installation is completed, it is erased automatically. So you don't need to worry about it occupying space. Coming to next question, if I want my software packages to be replicated to the remote office, what is the best way? You can configure this while creating a deployment policy. Go to software deployment policy, and while you're creating the policy, just go to pre-deployment settings, and you have to select this option. This is the best way to replicate binaries, as I discussed. What will happen is that the binaries will get downloaded before the deployment time, so that what happens is when the deployment time rolls around, the binaries will be ready and the installation will begin. And all you have to do is select this option while creating the deployment policy. When multiple software packages are deployed in sequence, if the first package fails, does it attempt to continue? How is notification sent back? When multiple software are deployed in sequence, if the first package fails, the installation will not continue. It will stop, and you will be notified, and you can, as we see, you can set up the email, and you will be notified, and an email will be sent to you in case there is any failure. I hope that's it for today. Thanks for attending and listening to this training session. I hope this was valuable and worth your time. Share your feedback with us by rating us on a scale of 1 to 5. Spread a word about upcoming training sessions and help so that people can get benefited from it. The next training schedule is asset management. It is scheduled on next week, Wednesday, same time. We also have an EMS World Tour happening, in which we're conducting many seminars and workshops as displayed on the screen. We're going to visit Croatia, Malaysia, Philippines, and London and Dubai. So on these particular dates, so kindly come and join us, and we will just join us. So if you would like to schedule a personalized demo, all you have to do is go on the link displayed at the bottom of the screen and request and fill out a form, and we will schedule a personalized demo. Thank you again. Thank you for listening, and thank you for attending this training session.